They came in uniforms, badges shining, sirens blaring, just enough to sound real. But something was off. Their eyes didn't match the authority they claimed to hold. At first I thought it was a mistake, a misunderstanding, until one of them shoved a paper in my face and demanded I step outside. My chest tightened. This wasn't protection, it was a trap. What they didn't know was that their plan to intimidate me would backfire in a way they never saw coming. Because the real police? They were already on their way. It had been an ordinary week in a quiet neighborhood where I'd lived for years. My home was simple, nothing flashy, but it was mine, a place I had worked hard for. I was the kind of neighbor who waved hello, who mowed the lawn on Saturdays, who tried to stay out of trouble. But in this neighborhood, no matter how quietly I lived, there were people who never saw me as belonging. Whispers carried. Cars slowed when I walked home from work. I had felt the eyes of neighbors who thought my skin color made me a threat. Still, I pushed it aside. I had responsibilities, family to care for, a job to keep, a life to live. That night was supposed to be like any other. I had just finished dinner, the television humming softly in the background. The air outside was still. Then came the pounding. 3 hard knocks that rattled the doorframe. At first, I thought it was a neighbor, maybe an emergency. But when I looked through the peephole, I froze. Standing there were 2 men in police uniforms, one holding a flashlight, the other gripping what looked like paperwork. My heart skipped. Why were they here? I hadn't done anything wrong. Yet in their eyes, I already felt guilty. Something deep down told me this wasn't going to be a routine visit. The taller one barked, "Open the door!" Police business. His tone was sharp, impatient. My first instinct was compliance. After all, who was I to question the police? But a sliver of doubt made me hesitate. I studied them through the peephole. Their uniforms looked right at first glance. But there were details. Badges that seemed flimsy. Belts missing standard equipment. Shoes too casual for officers on duty. My chest tightened. Were they really who they claimed to be? I cracked the door an inch, chain still latched. "What's this about?" I asked, trying to steady my voice. The shorter one thrust papers toward me. Pages crumpled like they had been printed minutes ago. "Search warrant." "Step aside." But I noticed something. No official seal, no signature. Just words on a sheet of paper. My gut screamed louder now. These weren't real cops. They were imposters, and they had targeted me for one reason: the color of my skin. Panic rose, but so did anger. I thought of stories I'd heard. People lured out of their homes, humiliated, beaten, sometimes worse. If I stepped outside, I might not come back. "I'm calling dispatch to verify," I said through the crack. Their eyes flickered, just for a second, but enough to confirm my suspicion. Then the taller one slammed his hand against the door, rattling it hard. "Don't play smart. Open up now!" Every instinct told me to run, but I forced myself to think. My phone was in my pocket. With trembling hands, I dialed 911, whispering my address, explaining the situation. The operator's calm voice steadied me. "Stay inside. Real officers are en route." Outside, the fake cops grew louder, angrier. They threatened to break down the door, shouting accusations. My neighbor's lights flicked on, blinds shifted. Still, no one intervened. I was alone, trapped, while danger stood just inches away. The pounding intensified. My doorframe groaned under the force. I pressed my back against the door, heart racing, praying reinforcements would arrive before it gave way. Then faintly in the distance, I heard sirens. The imposters heard it too. Their shouting faltered, eyes darting toward the street. Panic edged their bravado. But they didn't run. Instead, one pulled something from his jacket. A set of zip ties. My stomach dropped. They weren't here to talk. They were here to take me. The doorframe cracked as they rammed again. I staggered back, clutching my phone like a lifeline. Every second stretched, heavy with the thought, this could be it. Then, flashing lights spilled across my front yard. Real squad cars screeched to a halt. Doors flung open, radios crackled, and authoritative voices boomed commands. The fake cops froze, caught in their own charade. For a split second, I thought they'd turn violent, desperate enough to attack. My pulse thundered in my ears. But the real officers moved fast, guns drawn, shouting for them to drop everything. The impostors stammered, tried to bluff, but it was useless. Their cheap badges, their forged papers, it all unraveled under the glare of real authority. Within moments, they were face down on my lawn, wrists bound in the same restraints they had planned for me. Through the crack of my door, I watched the reversal, the hunters becoming the hunted. Relief washed over me, but so did something else. Rage at how close I had come to being another story that ended in tragedy. As the impostors were hauled away, one of the officers approached, his voice softer. "You did the right thing staying inside." But the truth lingered heavy in my chest. I hadn't just been cautious. I had been forced to doubt, to defend, simply because people who looked like me were too often seen as guilty before innocent. That night ended with flashing lights fading into the distance, my home left standing but my sense of safety shattered. I locked the door, but no lock could quiet the echo of those fists pounding against it, or the knowledge that people had dressed in the very uniforms, meant to protect me, just to intimidate me. In the days that followed, I replayed the moment again and again. What if I had opened the door fully? What if I had stepped outside? I might not be here to tell the story. That thought haunted me. The impostors were charged, their faces plastered across local news. Some called it a rare incident. But I knew better. For many, it wasn't rare at all. It was part of a larger truth, that racism can wear any mask, even that of authority, and still find ways to invade our homes, our peace, our lives. Neighbors whispered apologies, said they had seen but didn't know what to do. Their silence spoke louder than words. Because when you face injustice alone, hesitation can be deadly. I survived that night, but survival shouldn't be the measure of justice. No one should have to calculate every move, weigh every word, just to make it through an encounter that never should have happened. So I tell this story not just for myself, but for everyone who's ever been doubted, profiled, or targeted because of the color of their skin. The question isn't why it happened to me. The question is, how many more times will it happen? Before we finally decide that enough is enough, something deep down told me this wasn't going to be a routine visit.